The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work there too. But for those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads. Sackheads.
Radio.
Sackheads. Sackheads.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show, your live show for the 16th of November, 2016. Thank you so much for joining us this marvelous evening here from the SHR Media Studios. We have a ton to talk about.
Did you ever think that you'd see this?
See what? Us live? This is a huge milestone for us.
Well, yes.
Is this what we're talking about?
Yes, as
I'm
a
sorry,
matter
I
of
was
it is.
sleeping.
I appreciate that. It was one of those things that it was nice to wake you up. Most people wake up when they hear the intro music start for the show that they're on. Not you.
Not me.
Oh, no, you're a champ.
Yeah.
You're a champ. Oh, look at you. Just snuggled up in the corner there. Little whoopee on you. Proud of you. That was very nice.
This is not a whoopee. This is a Mickey Mouse blanket.
Same thing. Same thing. Whoopee.
That's your nickname.
Should be my nickname for you, the nosy whoopee.
Whoopee?
That's like a Wookiee. You can't, what, because I'm hairy? Because I'm a hairy Portuguese guy? You're going to call me a Wookiee?
I am Sackhead Sean, the hairy Wookiee over there, and Sackhead Clint.
Well, at least he has hair.
And the Ewok to the left of him is going to be the bloviating Zeppelin. We are the Sackheads Radio Show.
Oh, wow.
I can't wait till we get video.
What are you, a tauntaun?
I don't even... no, you know...
That's the
You can't say Tom Tom anymore.
No, Tauntaun.
No, Tom Tom. You can't say Tom Tom.
No, not
Tauntaun.
him.
T-O-N-T-O-N.
Tom Tom. You can't say it
Why?
anymore. It's a
Why?
drum.
No, it's an N, not
No,
an M.
Taun.
No, Tom Tom.
Go back to-
You guys, I tell you what.
So
I
we
mean,
ha-
if the Cleveland Indians can't be Indians, then you can't beat on a Tom Tom. We have to stop.
But there's a difference.
Right.
The term tom is a percussive instrument. It's
Yeah, you
not
can't. You're
necessarily
thinking of an uncle, and you can't be an Uncle Tom. Well, you can't because you're white.
and you certainly can't beat one.
Oh no! Oh,
Not
no.
like a drum.
No.
No, not like a drum.
So we've learned some lessons in the last couple of years.
Right.
Well, hello
You
to
hear-
everybody
you hear,
in
you hear about
chat.
the LAPD card game?
Uh-oh.
Oh boy!
4 clubs beats a king.
Oh, every time.
It's,
Every time.
what? Every time.
Every
I'm here
time.
all week, folks.
Tip your waitress.
Here all week.
Is that really how it's going to start?
Thank you.
Apparently so.
Thank you.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh boy!
Too
By
bad
the
you
way,
don't
I
have a
do
rim
want to point
shot.
out
Yes.
that America went black, and we did in fact go back.
You know, that's a darn good point.
We
So don't
We
ever let it be
disprove the
said.
theory?
We as a country disprove the theory. Is what I'm saying.
I'd like to welcome all of our new listeners.
I want to tell you, we got a lot of people in chat. We have Kerry and Dave and Mary and Jazzy Joe. The underground professor has blessed us. Dan, of course, stands in there. White Mamba.
Why is it going to be a white mamba?
yourself.
Because that's what he is,
That's
a white
just,
mamba.
Maybe we should change it to Caucasoid Mamba.
And then that's dirty.
And then we have a new individual, Golf Dogs. I see.
No, golf has been around since
Has
way
he
been
before
around
the BZ
since-
days.
That's the first time I've seen him in there.
Really?
Ron,
Yeah, I've noticed that he
Ron,
tweets. He
Golf, we
retweets.
apologize.
Right. Ron is one of those guys that has been with us
Since the beginning.
since the Blog Talk days.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
'Cause
So,
he,
Golf, we want to apologize for
He
the boot.
retweets the heck out of me. It's wonderful. Thank you, Golf Dog.
You know,
Appreciate it.
Golf, I'm sorry the FNG insulted you.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, Golf, we apologize. We're going to go ahead. The boot over here to my left is going to, we'll go ahead and square that away.
Damn
you.
kids. You just come to the mic and just start shouting things out like it's nothing.
I know.
Just spouting off willy-nilly. Listen, we're professionals here.
That's right.
This is a professional
This is a
show.
professional organization. We know our audience.
Can't you tell? Can't you tell? Hey, I gotta throw a major shout out to the SHR Media team outside of the Sackheads who do absolutely nothing to help this cause. But the SHR Media team in general this week, we've been making a lot of changes, doing some upgrades. I gotta thank the second best newsman in the business, Dan Butcher, for completely overhauling our website, shrmedia.com, doing an amazing job. It looks great. It's better than anything that I could ever try to do. And thank you, Danny. And all of our core broadcasters.
You even made the point. You said it's way better than anything Sacco could ever do.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I did.
And the poor little furry monster wasn't even here to defend himself. It's kind of like
you know
Grover.
what? He could be here to defend himself
You know what?
if he had a
should be
set.
here. He should be
If
here
he
to
had a
defend
set,
himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Dan did an awesome job, and of course, he is the editor-in-chief
When
of
you
High
called
Plains
me up
Pundit.
and you told me about that, you sent me a message.
Yep.
And I went over to SHR Media and I looked at it. I thought, wait a minute, this must be the wrong URL. Until I looked and I saw, by God, there it is, SHR Media. It looks great. Dan, you did wonderful. Wonderful.
Awesome job. And
work.
then we're rebranding. We're kind of re-going right now, taking advantage, if you will, on the horrendous actions of mainstream media, and understanding that, hey, you know what? We're the new media. Our platform, our format, it's not just our network. There are other networks out there that are doing a great job. But this is it. This is where media is going to come from. The alphabets. You look at the election, and I want to talk about that here in a few minutes, but they blew it. And our team here at SHR Media has been nailing it right along. And I'm really proud of these folks for all their hard work. This week especially, we've had some great ideas going around, great movement. Our Facebook, SHR Media Facebook page went from like 80-something likes to 340 in the last 48 hours. Twitter's up. Everything's what? So... yeah, to quote Jersey Joe, we're grabbing them by the website. So I think that's pretty good. So if you go to shrmedia.com, there's all new content on there, and it's really coming to be special. And thank you to everybody who helped out. I'd name you guys individual, but then I have to pay you, and it gets awkward like that. And believe me, I'll be paying Dan for the rest of my life. So, because the worst part is I was caught up with Dan from the last time he did our website when I went to Texas, and I bought him. You wanted to see a guy who can drink bourbon?
Yes.
Yeah,
I would like.
actually, I
would like to see a guy who can drink bourbon.
Ken McClinton, the exceptional conservative, was drinking root beer. So I'll buy him root beers all night. It's cheap, right?
Why, he said it was root beer. Was it?
No, it was root
really?
beer. The underground professor, I honestly didn't see him drink anything. I didn't see him eat anything
You didn't
either.
see him not drink anything either, though.
Well, I didn't see him eat anything, and that's only because every time we ate, Ken was there, and Ken was eating off of his plate. It was very awkward, but...
is that why he sat next to him all the time?
Poor Michael.
All the
yeah.
time.
The best story in the world is when Michael told him about, the story about Ken stabbing him in the hand, trying to get food off of the professor's plate, and I thought it was a made-up story for a few minutes. And then I realized it wasn't. But that brings us back around to Dan. So... the running joke, Dan said, hey, you're going to owe me a couple drinks. We get to Texas, and I said, all right, I'll buy him a couple beverages. So we go up to the bar, and he said, what are you going to have? And I said, bourbon. And he said, I'll have one too. So you know me. I have a decent taste in bourbon. I like Booker's and a bunch of different along that. So I've never seen a bartender have to get out a step ladder to get a bottle of bourbon off the shelf.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I would like to have seen
But
that.
apparently
That'd be
Dan,
fun.
but apparently Dan has good taste. So after the guy, it was funny. I saw him pass a mountain goat, and then he actually had to put on a respirator because that high up, the oxygen is much thinner.
Yeah, he was training for Everest, right?
Right, and he gets a bottle down in which he had a sign in blood, and he brought it down, and when they poured it, I've never seen a glass glow It was just a regular glass when he put it down, but it was glowing afterwards.
Well, I know why. That's because he asked for a scotch and deuterium.
And then Dan shot it in one sip. So, it was worth the while. But seriously, these guys are doing some great work, and we really want to bring SHR and all of our associates in our shows up to the task. It's time to take mainstream media to task. We have a new administration coming in, one that all indications point that they are going to be much friendlier to folks of our platform who actually saw through the bullshit of mainstream media for the last couple of years, certainly during the election, and was reporting what was really going on. So that's our goal here so far at SHR Media. As far as sackheads, we're going to be just as annoying as always. Nothing much is going to change there.
No annoyance going away.
We're going to add some shows hopefully here. BZ's getting ready to break off into his own show and hopefully still join us on Wednesday nights. But
I would love to.
My plan is to put you to work 5 nights a week.
Maybe every once in a while he can join us.
Well,
Wait a minute, that shit's not funny.
I don't know. I thought it was a friggin' riot.
Hey, thank you. That's pretty good. As a voting member,
I think it's 2-0 right now. Yeah,
right now.
2-0
right now. It's because the third voting party is
he's an absentia.
He's an abstentia,
and it doesn't really matter.
Abstentia. Right.
It doesn't matter what he votes anyways, because you and I
He's
always vote
outnumbered.
together.
It's outnumbered. The best part is he doesn't see how much money you pay me to vote with you.
Or coincidentally, how much money from the network we spend that he's 1/3 liable for.
To buy off my vote.
Right. No, because that'd be criminal. I don't use company funds to buy off your vote, Sean.
Doesn't really matter at this point. Let them check the records. You know what? As a matter of fact, I implore that they come down with as many agents as they possibly can. Line up through the door, and then I'll pull out the receipts. Oh, good time. So thank you to everybody. And once again, High Plains, Danny Butcher, for doing an outstanding job.
You bet the site looks fabulous. And I went over to Jersey Joe. Nice job.
Yeah, oh, gosh, yeah. So Reaver.1 has been overhauled yet again, and it looks amazing. And that's, of course, Jersey Joe's website. A great job there, too. So we're bringing it, folks. I don't care what anyone says. We bringing it. Ken, did I say that right? I hope so. Anywho, how you doing, my friends?
Oh, I'm doing amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm doing amazing. So I had a mini rant today.
Oh, I always love these.
I'd like to hear.
You've heard this rant before.
I've heard a lot of your rants plenty of times.
And let me give you a hint of what my rant was. I actually made a reference to Disneyland and people using the special line.
Yes, we've talked about this before.
We've talked about this a few times.
Right. Times that I should have been insulted, but I'm realistic, so I'm not.
Right. And so we
Fat
saw
shaming.
something.
Sorry.
So I was in a lunch line.
Funny, me too. It's weird how that happens.
I was in a lunch line today.
Yeah.
And somebody came through who felt a little entitled, who said that they couldn't stand in the long line because of their disability.
What? Oh, are they okay? Are they okay?
Was it obvious?
That is not a freaking disability.
Oh, that's what it was.
I'm sorry.
You're not insulting me. I agree with you. Even though I am fat, I still agree with you.
Look, I'm not talking about fat people, but it's not a reason for you to go to the front of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Especially when
you can't fit for one.
It's not, and then to bring your 23 frickin' family members.
Right.
If you can't stand up for 3 minutes in a lunch line, first of all, you probably shouldn't be there. Second of all, it's not my frickin' fault. Park your rascal in the corner and get your ass up and walk into line.
Dude, I told you I was having a bad day.
I don't care, Sean, and I wasn't going to dime you out on this. First of all, why are you getting a government-subsidized rascal?
Because they go faster.
That's right. His has the 440 Magnum.
And how did you supercharge that?
How can you not supercharge
Yeah, how can
it?
you not mess
The same
with
way
it?
I got
Okay,
it.
but wheelie bars and flames?
The
Come
same
on.
way I got it lowered and put spinners on it.
Serious. And by spinners, you're talking about cheerleaders, but that's a different discussion.
Right. For another day.
Joe said my gravy levels got low. It does happen, unfortunately.
You must have known where we were in the lunch line together, 'cause that's funny. What's for lunch today? Gravy. Perfect.
Were you at one of my favorite places?
Yes.
Were you
Yes.
with the roast beef?
It actually was roast beef today. Funny enough.
Yeah. Well,
I was in a different place,
and
and I don't want to name the name of the establishment.
okay, I thought it was Bud's.
No.
Okay,
It wasn't.
Because if you're ever in the Sacramento area and you need a real roast beef, if you're an East Coast guy and you want a real hot roast beef plate, and they're not paying me, and I don't care, Bud's Cafeteria in downtown Sacramento is outstanding.
Yeah. No, it was not Bud's. it was somewhere that else to be named off air.
Oh, the other thing
I can't stand in line. I'm still angry about this.
Carrie, and I know you can't read, so I'll read it over to you, said that she actually had to work on a disability case for a congressman, and people who claim that they were too fat to work and needed government disability. You would have been great at that job.
Oh, I deny every single.
I'd
one
like
of
to
them.
see. I'd like to see that.
I deny every freaking single one.
I'd like to see Clint's interview for that.
Mary says she is, quote unquote, this close to getting a government subsidized rascal. She's in the chat room. But there's a difference.
There's a difference, Mary.
You worked hard your whole life,
Yes.
and I believe that's part of Medicare and Medicaid.
A 28-year-old person
Exactly.
who weighs 572 pounds who can't get their ass up to stand in a lunch line
Which
and gets a rascal is different. This
anyone who
brings
knows me
to a-
knows that isn't me, because I would never not stand in a lunch line.
Exactly. and this brings me to another point. I also want to go on a rant about the 23-year-olds I see rolling around the grocery store in the retard carts. I'm not allowed to say that, right? Those motorized.
Did I beep that?
Yeah, you can believe that.
Have you actually? You have actually seen that?
Oh yes,
Yes.
I've actually seen
Yes.
that. Sean,
Kids-
as a matter of fact,
Yes.
we have
Yes,
seen that
we
together.
have.
And I talk the most crap when I see that.
A kid in one of the little motorized
Well,
things.
a 23-year-old adult.
Good God.
Oh yeah, driving around thinking it's the coolest thing ever. Those are meant for people with legitimate disabilities,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Those are meant for people that can't walk around a grocery store for an extended period of time,
Right.
or anything of that.
Those are made for the people that we say when we talk about people that we will take care of.
Absolutely.
That's on the list of people that we will absolutely take care of. People who are legitimately handicapped,
Absolutely.
that usually through no fault of their own have to live with that disability. And those are the folks that we should be helping on a regular basis.
Right. And we have no problem. So please don't take. Anybody that knows us knows that this is not the case. I'm not saying that people with legitimate disabilities aren't obviously shouldn't get assistance or have certain treatments, because they should. You know, the person with the family that's at Disneyland who has, you know, 2 broken legs, yeah, they shouldn't have to stand in line. I
Right.
have no issue with that.
No,
Right.
no one would.
Or you know, hey, if a grocery store wants to supply an electric cart to make grocery shopping easier for disabled people, then fine. I'm very sensitive to that. I spent when I was in 7th or 8th grade. When I was in 8th grade, I spent 3 months of my life in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
I had something pretty significant happen, and it's so I have a very specific viewpoint on that kind of stuff.
I agree.
And that's why I get so worked up over this issue. I think that's why I got so worked up over the issue today, and why I get so worked up when I see that other grocery cart as well.
Well, and you know as well as I do, and I've talked about this before, for me, false disability drives me insane. My father, for the last 8 years of his life, was a double amputee.
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam vet. He was a cop his whole life. Diabetes chopped him down, literally piece by piece. And when you would try to use the present handicap assist on one level or another, either parking, the motorized carts, sometimes the wheelchairs, whatever. More often than not, they were not able to be used because somebody else was using them. And then you see that person whizzing around, Stop and Shop in Malden, with a cast on their arm, 26 years old. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, your wheel is fine, dude. Not
Right.
your arm.
And I've had arguments with people. Handicap spots? Oh, I've had arguments with people. And luckily, my old man was pretty good about the fact that he didn't want the special treatment per se, right? He was a doer his whole life. I was the one who was like, you're not going to walk an extra 75 yards when we should be able to park there.
Yep.
And then you see some schmo come out of the pharmacy that we're going in to get one of my father's 5,000 medications, come bopping out like it's nothing, jump in the car and go. Or jump in the car and then have an asshole at their window screaming at them, which was usually me.
I like Dave's comment in chat. He says he really wants a guide panther, a guaranteed seat on a city bus anytime. I think that's a great idea.
And Agador brought up a good point. It did take blind folks a long time, and Agador is blind, Dave, a long time to get guide dogs accepted on an official level. And even with that, there are still some places that give a hard time. I talk about there was a bar, what was it, last year? There was a bar in Old Sacramento called Fanny Ann's.
Oh, I've been there.
And there was a veteran who was also a police officer who was involved in some pretty harsh incidents who was on leave for PTSD, both from the military service and for the incidents while he was a police officer. He had an official therapy dog that had its shabrack or its vest on. He had paperwork for it. All these things. He went in and sat on the outside patio or the seats just outside and was told that he could not have his dog there. And even though the rule is, and for people who don't know, I happen to be pretty knowledgeable about this, the rule with service animals is you can only ask if it's a service animal. After the person says yes, that is it in a public place. Yep. The American with Disabilities Act is extremely explicit about that. Now, is there abuse in the service animal industry? Of course there is. You see people with all these animals that they say is a service animal, you have to believe them, right? Because there's no way to vet it. I personally believe that you should be able to produce paperwork saying that it's a certified service animal, even if it's from your doctor, on some level, because you do see a lot of people abuse that. And it's pretty obvious when they're abusing it.
It's logical. It just keeps people honest.
However, the simple fact of the matter is I will not negate the fact that there are service animals, and we should be doing so much that we would stop it. There are dogs that are in the harnesses. There are dogs that are on leash. Hey, listen, I have seen every animal under the sun be a service animal. And when it comes to PTSD and a lot of mental disorders, there's no rule that says it has to be a dog. People are allergic to dogs. It could be another type of animal. But you cannot question that, and you shouldn't, really. Wow. Mary in the chat room, blind skydivers are way too hard on their dogs.
Well, they do need companionship, after all.
That is amazing.
Sweet little Mary in the chat room. So, it's things like that, those people that we're talking about here that ruin it not ruin it, but make life difficult for those who truly are handicapped in one way, shape, or form. And there are a lot of people out there that need it, particularly our veterans right now. There's a lot of veterans coming home who are handicapped. There are a lot of veterans who've served their country with dignity and honor, who have had an illness or injury as a result of their service. And when you are the fat guy holding up the liner and the rascal and all the other stuff, then you are taking away from somebody who actually needs that assistance. And it drives me insane in this country that all these little snowflakes, and we'll talk about them in a little minute, who are running around talking about how they're being victimized.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into it right now because I wrote an article. I have a couple stories I want to talk about regarding that. But you have other people like our veterans who are coming home who usually don't ask for a lot, and the things that they do need often aren't there because of all of these other sleaze bags who are monopolizing it for their own personal gain. And it drives me crazy. It drives me absolutely crazy.
What about a service pony?
I wish. Dude, I won't know. So,
Well, here's
do you
why-
remember a friend of ours had a horse named Bolo?
Yes.
You remember Bolo. Great. And he
Yes.
was half draft and half, I forget what the other, half draft, half quarter?
Uh-huh.
He was huge, though.
He was a big horse.
He was just this side of a Clydesdale, if you will, by a couple 100 pounds, which is still a huge horse. I would love to get Bolo, and Matt still has him. We should talk to Matt. We should get Bolo a service animal.
Look, I have
That would be awesome.
I have on good authority where there is somebody, and it's actually a legitimate dog and pony show. But there is somebody that frequents a certain area, and I got this from B-Dub, with a service pony and a service dog. The person is literally a dog and pony show.
That's awesome. I want to get.
I want a picture of that so I can post it on our website. Because one of the things we enjoy doing here, and we haven't done this in a while, is we enjoy pictures, the literal translation or the literal embodiment of sayings.
Yes.
For example, do you remember when we literally saw the blind leading the blind?
We did see the blind leading the blind.
And I commented on it, and you about pissed yourself. If
I
I remember correctly.
I kid you
I would
not.
like to have seen that.
Coffee?
It's too bad you didn't
Yes.
have your phone with you and take a photograph.
We couldn't. We were laughing too hard.
I mean, they would never know. They're
Right,
blind
they
for
wouldn't have
God's
seen that
sake.
we
you
did
gotta
it.
hear this story.
We're sitting there having coffee. and I know we only have a couple minutes left. I'll be quick. So it's Clinton and I having coffee, our normal stand-up like we usually do. We're yapping about politics and whatnot. And all of a sudden, his nose changes direction. Almost into the wind, if you will. That's how I know something's coming. I look over my right shoulder, and I could just hear him start his giggle. And it's like a crescendo. It starts soft, and it gets larger. And I look, and there's a blind gentleman holding another blind gentleman by the hand. The blind gentleman in front has the cane, and he's walking him down the path. And as the crescendo of giggles gets louder, he goes, "It's the blind leading the blind," and then starts losing it. The best part about it is these guys weren't that far away, and I don't know, but many people say that when one sense goes down, other senses get enhanced. Their hearing must have been better.
I was going to say.
Because the guy in the front started smiling, smirking. He knew exactly what was going on. But it was just, like you said, it was the literal of the saying. And I was just like, really? The things that go through your mind.
Right? So B-Dub, if you're out there, if you're listening, I know you are. Sweetie, send us a picture of that.
Please, we would love to
Please.
see the actual dog and pony show.
We need to see the literal dog and pony show.
I have a great blind story when we come back.
Oh, okay.
All that
man.
news. When
And
we
you're
come
gonna
back.
you're gonna keep us in the dark to the other side of the break. Fine.
Yes, I am.
Okay, we can do that.
It's called a teaser.
By keeping us in the dark, Ken, that was in no reference to you.
We'll be back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR.
Well, that
Media
was
Network.
2/3 of a reference.
Media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Cap was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Talk about
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show. Oh, well, easy rock to get things going here this evening.
Very nice, very nice.
Is this Sacco? Did Sacco actually?
No, this is not Sacco.
Original in music.
This is not Sacco because he's not around anymore. BZ,
Stop
real quick.
mentioning his name.
I cry every time you do. It's sad. BZ,
I cry too.
You had a blind story.
I did. Not too terribly long ago, I was an EVOC instructor, and I used to do it for in-service people, and I used to do it for recruits. And that's a driving instructor, essentially. And one time I told my other instructors, I said, play along with me when I come out. And I walked out to the automobiles to break people into groups. And the EVOC, the other instructors came out behind me, and I had a cane, and I went tapping out to the automobile, opened and sat in the driver's seat, and then they broke people up into groups, and they put 3 people in my car. It was great. It was absolutely great. Okay, that was it. All right.
All right, moving.
Okay, moving right along.
Moving along. So I want to talk a little bit this segment about just the left's major implosion. Since the general election last week, in which Donald Trump became the president-elect. And, the mainstream media, and we could talk about all the little snowflakes, and I put a post up on SHR Media essentially saying, hey, these people are programmed to respond like this at this point. You have mainstream media telling them that they were going to win no matter what.
Yep.
You have their parents and everybody around them telling them that they're special and everything they do is right and they're going to get a trophy no matter what and they can never lose. You have these education systems, including higher education, quote-unquote higher education, telling them that they can do no wrong, that their side is going to win, et cetera, et cetera. I actually had a conversation earlier this evening with Carrie Donovan real quick when we were talking about some of the things, but I got into how the left is very much like the Nazis in a lot of way, that they're starting to control media, they're getting to youth young. We've talked about this once or twice before, but if you follow the rise of Hitler and the Nazis, they did a lot of these things. They started attacking a group of people, in the Nazis' case it was the Jews, as being these animals and telling these horrendous stories that weren't true, but they did it a very Alinsky-like way. You keep repeating it until people start believing it. And then you have this uprising.
Well, and that's from the playbook of Joseph Goebbels.
Right. And that's from Bernays.
Yes, it is.
So you have this uprising. So, you know, I put a little note on Facebook that I can't wait for global warming to melt these little snowflakes. Because that's what we've dubbed them, is these little sensitive snowflakes who just, once the temperature goes up, they melt and go insane. And that's exactly what happens. But it's not just these nitwits who are protesting and damaging and rioting. It's also the media who is having a complete just tantrum. Here is a story today from NBC. I kid you not, it's shrmedia.com is where you can find my story. But the title of this article, as Trump leaves press behind for steak dinner, incoming admin already showing lack of transparency. Now,
you have to bleed and kill me.
Wait. I know. But first of all, we have an administration who the president hardly speaks and takes press conferences. All of his interviews are controlled very, very tightly by who he's going to speak with. You have a
Secretary of State that deletes hundreds of thousands of emails.
You have Josh Earnest, who goes out there and deflects every question about transparency.
Private email servers, so that stuff isn't discoverable.
So you have, right, and you have all these things now. Donald Trump, as the president-elect, he's not even installed into office yet.
Right.
Last evening, I believe it was, decided to take some family members out and have a nice, quiet dinner. Now, I understand that there is a press contingency with him. I understand that the press thinks that they should have unfettered access. I understand that when the president moves, the press usually knows. However, there's a couple things that we know about Trump that is not traditional. First of all, he plays the media like a fiddle. He's been doing it right along. Nobody gave him more free coverage than the friggin' mainstream media going nuts over what he says. He does things how he wants to do things. Now, could that be an issue maybe later on down the line if that creates a problem? Yeah, that's fine. But him going out
to dinner,
having a steak dinner with his family and not telling media, is that really some sort of...
And how'd they know it was steak dinner?
Because somebody found out.
Exactly.
At some point.
See, so they're transparent.
So
what did you order for dinner? Steak. He didn't say none of your business.
But you also have a guy who just came off of this ridiculously long election. Mm-hmm. He's been going like mad, like anybody would be. And listen, if Obama, when he was president-elect, went and brought Michelle and the girls out to dinner and privately and never told anyone, I wouldn't have cared.
I wouldn't. You know what? I wouldn't care if he did it as president. If he when he was president, if he said, now playing golf all the time, different story. But if he was like, you know what, I need to spend some family time. I'm going to step away from the press corps and I'm going to have a nice quiet dinner with my family. We're going to go out to a restaurant. And I'm going to have a nice dinner with my family. I wouldn't begrudge the man that as a husband and as a father.
Yeah, it's just kind of a normal thing to do. And listen, how many times did Clinton disappear from the White House and
get a BJ from an intern
and go for a jog with just like 2 or 3 Secret Service members and show up at a McDonald's or a Starbucks legitimately, interns aside, he did it all the time, right? Because that was the only way he could get away from the diet food Hillary was forcing him to eat, and he could show up at a McDonald's. As a matter of fact, it happened so much. SNL, the great Phil Hartman, did a skit on it.
Loved Phil
Hartman.
Way too
huge
early.
Loss to the comedy world. Huge loss.
Terrible.
So now you have them already pissing and moaning about lack of transparency. Now, we've heard everything about the transition team, the changes they've made, this, that, and the other thing, and we could talk about that in the next segment. But the amount of ridiculousness in this is out of control. Yes, they're going after Melania. Mary Brockman brings it up in the chat room about the jewelry that she's wearing from her jewelry line. while she does an interview. How many times has Michelle been on these tremendous vacations?
Well, yes.
Right? It cost her millions of dollars, and nobody says boo about it. And not family vacation. Her and a couple friends.
Or Hillary Clinton's wearing $12,000 coats.
Right. Right, that look like
potato sacks.
Riddle Kim. You know, so...
August 16, 2012, Obama stiff arms White House press, fields questions from Entertainment Tonight and People magazine.
Exactly.
How quickly we forget.
Exactly. And then, on top of it all, so you have all this outrage from NBC. We get a letter from the National Press Club, the president of the National Press Club. His name is Tommy Burr. He decides today he is going to scold the president-elect. And I want to read this, if you will allow me. Dear President-elect Trump, we, a group of diverse journalism association representing thousands of journalists from the national capital to every quarter of the country, by the way, they don't represent us, begin this letter on a hopeful note. Your administration is a blank slate, and we are eager to work with you to perpetrate one of the nation's great strengths, our freedom of the press. Bullshit. Bullshit. As the leader of the free world, we expect that you will preserve longstanding traditions that ensure coverage of the Trump presidency. The idea of a press pool that covers all of the president's movement is one that dates back to Franklin Delano Roosevelt administration. Every president of both parties have treated this important tradition with respect. The role of the press pool is critically important to our country, whose citizens depend on and deserve to know what the president is doing. This isn't about access for the press itself. It is about access for the Americans and diverse communities across the country. Your constituents receive information from a variety of platforms and learn about what the president is doing. Being president is an enormous responsibility, and working with the White House Correspondents Association to ensure journalists' access is one small but important part of that. We call on you to commit to a protective press pool from now until the final day of your presidency. We respectfully ask you to instill a spirit of openness and transparency in your administration in many ways, but first and foremost via the press pool.
Yeah, how about F you? And when you start treating me fair,
yes.
Right. Look, so I do agree that I do agree that president when Donald Trump is president, when he's installed, he should be transparent. I agree with that. Look, I'm not going to hold him to a different standard than I held Obama about the things that he can be transparent about. Not about military secrets, not about intel, not things like that. But things he can be transparent about or should be transparent about, like, does your Secretary of State have a private email server? Yes, I found out about it and I squared it away.
Yes,
you know,
and are you using taxpayer funds?
Are you yes, well, I mean, whatever it is. So this is things I have that expectation of this president, just like I had of President Obama. But the press then has a duty in return, and if I were in Trump's inner circle, I'd say, you know what? We need to draft a response to this, saying we agree that we need to be transparent with you. We understand the importance of the press. However, your job in the press is to be fair, report information to the American people. So, and then give a counter letter explaining what their frickin' job is.
Right. Yes, it's a two-way street.
And his expectations. That's what I would advise the president to do.
Well, and furthermore, when it comes to personal matters, it's different from presidential matters.
You just nailed it right there.
Yes.
When you're talking about politics or what happens with regard to the country and policy, etc., yes, you would expect fully that the press would be there covering what the hell difference does it make if they don't get invited to dinner. Boo-hoo.
So now via Jersey Joe at Reaver.1, I want to bring you back to 2008 from Politico. Obama gives press pool the slip. President-elect Barack Obama left behind a pool of reporters assigned to follow him this morning when he and his daughters Malia and Sasha headed to the Sea Life Park, a maritime park near Waimanalo and Bellows Air Force Station. Sorry, I'm white. So it's not unprecedented. And how many times, especially when he was on vacation, was the only photographer or reporter allowed near him was the official White House photographer,
Yeah.
and not the press pool.
Well,
he's golfing. This is his private time. This is his personal time. Let's give him some space. We'll send you the information when we have it, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, now you're talking about personal time there. You know, being on a golf course on a vacation or something like this. How quickly the American media maggots forget again. Huffington Post, July 24th, 2014. Obama shuts out White House reporters yet again. White House reporters were barred from a meeting. This is a political meeting between President Obama and donors for the Democratic House Majority PAC on Wednesday, Politico reported. Members of the press traveled with the president to the West Coast on Tuesday, where he was set to attend the Senate Majority PAC fundraiser, but upon arrival, the media were left behind and prohibited from getting near the event.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, silence from the American media maggots on that. Their memory apparently is as long as fill in the blank.
But go ahead, Clint.
No, I was going to say something kind of related to this, but it's going to take us a little bit off topic from President-elect, from this particular reaction to the President-elect. So.
Let me close out real quick.
Yeah, that's why
so,
I'm deferring.
On top of these idiots protesting, you now have the media who, because they look like morons from this last election, and nobody's giving them any credence, and they should.
The New York Times comes out and says we need to do better,
right?
Because we screwed the pooch,
right? And you've had a few of the people. I mean, all the
we need
pundits.
To play it down the middle. New York Times.
Yes, and that's just to make it save face, I think, so they could say that they're playing it down the middle.
You know what?
But you had
at least
a
they
lot
had
of pundits.
Check. I give
I
them
agree,
credit.
and a lot of pundits that came out the last few days and said, "How did we miss this?" Well, because the information.
Because you're blind purposely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I give them credit for the gut check, but the reality of the situation is you expect this president, after everything that you've lied about? Yeah. They have lied. And then the National Press Club is going to come out with a letter like that talking about transparency and honesty so we can report. The problem is you report bullshit. And not only about Trump, but you squash the bullshit to the other side about Obama.
Yes.
You gussy things up that aren't true. You do everything you can to protect him. So don't sit here and talk about how they need to treat you fairly. Hey, guess what? You're a nobody.
Well, anybody.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Anybody with a D behind their name.
Yes.
Or in their mouth. I think that is what.
Well, here's what.
What? I hate you.
What does he mean by that?
I don't know.
I'll show you.
I don't know, but he obviously has a point he wants to make.
Look, this is why I think Sean lost it. This is why.
Hey, Sean, after the show, can you tell me what he means?
I'll show you.
Okay. Excuse me while I go out to my car.
1, 2, 3, not it.
Not it.
Not it.
It's in the back
Sorry,
seat.
BG. Sorry, BG.
Foiled again.
This is why I think that the Obama team needs to send a counter letter back.
Yes.
Outlining, look, the press sent a letter of expectation to
Trump
the president, to the president-elect. Oh, okay, it's kind of a double standard. It's kind of funny, but you know what? Should the president-elect be transparent when he's president? Yes, he should be. So I'm going to agree with them on that point because I hold him to the same standard as Obama, right? But I think it's a little ironical, to quote Big Fat Pauly. I think it's interesting. That being said, I think if the Trump team sends a letter of expectation back and publishes it publicly, that would be amazing. Now, can I? We have 10 minutes, and I want to get to kind of a similar story.
Go ahead,
because it has to do with snowflakes. There have been schools, colleges, particularly. I know of some in Iowa that have had. Since the presidential election, they've canceled exams. They've had cry-ins on campus, publicly funded. Yeah, tax dollars at work. They've brought in therapy dogs.
Yes.
They've had counseling sessions.
I have a list if you want to hear it.
The cry rooms. Kids can play with Play-Doh. They color on coloring books so that they talk about their feelings. No, No. This is. I'm not making
No,
this up.
Like I say, I have a list specifically who and where right there.
Yes. I'm not making this
No,
up.
I know.
Not at all.
But
It's all over the place.
There is a state Republican in Iowa by the name of Bobby Kaufman who says he's going to introduce a, quote, suck it up buttercup bill in January.
Yes.
I saw that.
That is going
that
to
was grand.
cut public funding to these schools that are hiking tuition. They say they don't have funds and everything else, and yet they're paying for these frickin' programs because Trump won.
Yes. Well,
are you in these universities? These are supposed to be schools of thought, schools of open discussion, schools of debate.
Producing the men and women of tomorrow.
Right.
They're producing freaking crybaby sissy.
Where
this
has
is our future?
Where has our constructive thinking gone? And more importantly, instead of teaching them how to rebound when maybe your side doesn't win, like, hey, you know what? Here's what we have to do next time. You pull your bootstraps up. We have a better plan. Maybe we don't run a candidate that's a complete criminal. Whatever it be, instead of turning it into, to use one of their terms, a learning moment, they're teaching them that you could just implode when life gets too hard on you. Prime example, and we got an email from my son's school district talking about, hey, we know there's some, because of the election, we know there's been some incidents of bullying. Staff is on hand. We'll deal with it appropriately, not tolerated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing too in-depth, but just to say, hey, we acknowledge the fact that there may be, this was such a polarizing election that there may be some hard feelings. Okay. Then you push on down to other school districts, i.e., the City of Davis Joint Unified School District, who sent out like a 15-paragraph letter about all the different services they will be offering students, from counseling to therapy, all the stuff, Play-Doh sessions, et cetera, that you were talking about, and blah, 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 blah. The reality of the situation is, why don't you teach them that sometimes you don't effing win? And you have to take off your panty waist and put your big boy pants on, or big girl pants, however you want to look at it, and face the fight.
Yep.
They went back to infantilism.
Beyond it.
Let me tell
I
you.
don't know what's beyond it, but beyond it.
Let me tell you a story I had from my wife today. She works for the state. People were walking around her office today. These are adults with safety pins.
Oh!
Pinned to their shirts. These are adults. The University of Michigan offered its traumatized students coloring books and Play-Doh to calm them. The University of Kansas reminded its stressed-out kids that therapy dogs, a regular campus feature, were available. Cornell University, an Ivy League school, held a campus-wide cry-in, with officials handing out tissues and hot chocolate. Tufts University offered its devastated students arts and crafts sessions. Campuses from elite Yale to Connecticut to Iowa and beyond, professors canceled classes and or exams, either because students asked, why didn't I think of that when I was in college? Or because instructors were too distraught to teach.
Too distraught. The instructors. And the best part is, I wrote an article the other day about, and I'm going to see if I can pull it up, because I gave a couple of examples about what these kids believe. And one of them that social media is pushing. Are you ready for this? And
I'm ready for anything.
This is why these idiots, I weep for our future. I weep for a future. So I titled it, the article Losing with Dignity, and I talked about how Van Jones called it a white lash when Obama won that night. But then I went on to these idiots. You have a city councilwoman in Seattle whose name is Kashmana Sawant, who's telling people to go ahead and interrupt the Trump inauguration, because that'll work out well for you there, sweetheart. What a great idea that is. Oh, and you're an elected official telling people to commit crimes and encouraging it. So if there is, in fact, some sort of incident at the inauguration, and maybe, just maybe, can you be charged with maybe accessory before the fact? Because you instilled the seed of criminality in them? It's neither here nor there, you idiot. But the other thing that's going around on the internet is The Purge. Have you ever heard about The Purge? So The Purge was a movie in 2008, and then a follow-up movie in 2012.
Oh,
in which
right,
you
right,
had
right,
24
right.
hours
Yes.
or 12 hours of no laws, blah, blah. And it was done by the administration in the movie in order to essentially kill off some people. People on the internet are now believing that there will be a purge from the Trump administration. Not an exaggeration. There are people who very much believe that the purge is coming, and they are planning on it. And it's not just a couple people on social media. There are YouTube videos. There are all these things of people who honestly believe that the purge will be enacted in this country.
Birthers. The leftist equivalent of birthers.
Shit you not. That is the people who are going to someday be in charge of something on some level in this country. If this does not scare the absolute hell out of you, I don't know what does.
Then don't buy a gun.
What about social media? All the people that were attaching their names just on Twitter. I wrote a post about this. I put up so many photographs of stills of people threatening to assassinate Donald Trump, not hiding, but behind their actual names.
Yep.
And every one of those, guess what, boys and girls, that I saw, I went at U.S. Secret Service and forwarded it to them. One of those particular individuals lost his job today.
Good.
He was a former CEO.
Good.
Who advocated the outright assassination of Donald Trump. So it's okay for Donald Trump because he's white. Can you imagine had these little snowflakes the temerity to do that in 2008 and 2012? No.
Any president.
Any one.
Right. And that's the thing. You go over to, I believe it's the Guardian, the website, the Guardian website. Her name is Monisa Rajesh. She is a journalist for the Guardian, or was, who tweeted, "It's about time for a presidential assassination." She also has been fired as a result. I also want to see if there will be criminal charges for even threatening the president's life. It amazes me the amount of insanity that is coming out of the left right now. And this election has truly brought to the table their true colors. This is what the left absolutely wants.
Kalen Rahim, all you Worcester gangsters and whatnot, you clearly have a mission on Wednesday. Kill Donald Trump. Ali Shula, I would kill Donald Trump if I got the opportunity. These are people under their names.
Right. Not even hiding.
$60K to assassinate Donald Trump.
Right.
Hit my DMs, please.
This is out of control. And when we talk about what inspires the left and who the left is, this is the left. These protests, these schools, these threats, this is the left. This is exactly who we've been telling you they have been for years, but now you're showing it on the forefront. And I know the left and Soros and all the people that he's paying, and I'm wholeheartedly believing that he has a lot of money behind these protests right now. They're all going to tell you, oh, those are just a couple of bad actors. How many thousands, right? These protests are still going on. But it's not done, even if they peter off for now. Guess what's going to happen in January when the inauguration comes around? These protests are going to explode by and large. And I forget who sent it to me. No, I don't. It's my brother-in-law, Dennis. Said to me, if the left gets to act like this every time they don't win, then there should be zero question about what kind of gun I can carry and where I can carry. This is the trade-off. Because if they're going to riot, then that means it could happen anywhere. I should be allowed to defend myself.
Brief story, and there are several states now that actually have a right to conceal carry with no permit.
Right.
But brief
Idaho.
story. Did you see the Florida out of the story out of Florida?
Yes, the sheriff's
deputy.
deputy.
Deputy who was in pursuit of a vehicle. Vehicle stopped. Guy gets out, is pulling the deputy out of the patrol car, beating the crap out of him. I think the person was armed. Armed citizen stops, tells the man, "Get off him or I'm going to shoot you. Get off him or I'm going to shoot you." The man kept beating the deputy, would have beat him to death, or most likely. The guy put 3 rounds into the assailant while he's on top of the deputy and killed him. That man is a patriot.
Yep.
Hell,
Thank you for saving that deputy's life.
Yep.
Precisely.
And this is the reason why concealed carry is so important in this country.
Two quick things to point out. One, Underground Professor did say, not allowed to carry, recognizing the right to carry.
Correct.
So want to make sure that we clarify that. I agree
Correct,
wholeheartedly.
because I'm so not clear on my position on the second.
And secondly, and Agador, I think, brought it up in the chat room, and we've all said it before, it's amazing that the left was so worried about the peaceful transition of power that this is what we get. This is what we get, ladies and gentlemen.
And who was it, NBC, that held the clip when Donald Trump said, stop, if you're doing violence in my name, stop?
Right. It's unbelievable. We're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about probably the transition team and some of the things that happened.
I want to talk about Keith Ellison for a minute.
Let's talk about Keith Ellison when we get back. And I also have a story about Keith Olbermann. So while we're on it, we'll combine the two. Right here at the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com and HighPlainsDailyNews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. I appreciate you guys sticking around with us this evening.
The best underline italics
Absolutely.
in late night conservative.
Best. Hey, if you're listening and you're not in the chat room, we miss you. Go to shrmedia.com. Click on the top button that says broadcast and chat and jump in the live chat. Clint, you wanted to talk about Mr. Ellison, the future of the Democrats in the House.
I do. Are you familiar with the definition of treason? Anyways, I digress. What?
So we're going to start off easy on this segment.
That's right. Yeah. I'm curious if Clint's going to come out and tell us what he really thinks, or is he just going to, mince words?
No, I was just curious if anybody knew that. Keith Ellison. Does anybody know who this guy is? Look, some people do. If you're paying attention, you know exactly who this guy is. He was, particularly if he came, I think it was around 2009 when he was arrested for civil disobedience in Washington, D.C., when he was protesting the Darfur, not going to work here anymore, in Washington. Civil disobedience. This is a United States representative.
Great movie.
Arrested for civil disobedience and kept his frickin' office.
Well, yeah.
Anyways.
Hey, you do realize that you can't just swap out offices.
Right.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we're clear on that.
Right. By the way, because he was arrested with other members of the House of Representatives, if I'm not right. There were like 4 or 5 other Democrats who were arrested also.
Were they also charged with conspiracy?
Well, here's what I'm getting at. Because that was on federal property, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes.
Which means they were violating a law of the United States.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And so when they were asked to leave an illegal protest, they were in fact delaying the execution of that law of the United States, correct?
Correct.
Huh. And if they were doing so in such a manner which was inciting, right? Then they would be doing so by force, or basically some threat thereof, potentially.
Force or threat? Threat of force?
Huh. That may have met the definition of seditious conspiracy, but I don't know. Like I'm not a legal scholar. I mean that's
right. You're not ambulance chaser,
right? 18 U.S. Code 2384. If anybody wanted to look it up, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney.
I wonder if somebody told them not to pursue any further charges.
I'm concerned that perhaps this individual shouldn't hold office anymore. But that's not all I find concerning about this man.
Mm-hmm.
He has some alleged Muslim Brotherhood group connections.
Yes, and through care, because he's a Muslim. He was sworn in.
Exaggerated.
He was sworn in on a copy of the Quran.
On the Quran.
Which I don't look. That's fine. Okay, if you're a Muslim, that's your faith. You're peaceful. That's fine. I mean, I'm not going to begrudge. I mean, this is the United States, right? I'm not
Loves Louis Farrakhan.
I'm not. But see, now we're starting to talk about a different problem, right?
He's got numerous.
He's got numerous. This is a different animal. This is an individual who is elected to public office. He has taken an oath to faithfully defend the United States Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We are at war with radical Islamic terrorism.
Last time I checked.
The Muslim Brotherhood is a organization that is tied to that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Last time I checked.
If I'm not mistaken. And yet he has these ties to some of these groups.
Muslim Brotherhood is not named as a terrorist group by the Obama administration.
Weird.
No.
By the way.
Weird.
How
right?
strange.
Weird.
Even though,
but
even though we did in fact go out of our way to make sure that they were removed out of power in Egypt after they started to kill everybody.
Yeah, well, they must not have been very serious then. They're not that serious, the terrorist group.
So he spoke. He spoke at a convention of the Islamic Society of North America. The Islamic Society of North America has ties to Hamas.
So does CARE.
Okay.
How strange.
Yes. They have Palestinian ties, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait, what?
What?
That's impossible. It's impossible.
The Justice Department has classified the Islamic Society of North America as entities who, quote, who are and or were members of the U.S. Muslim Brotherhood.
Just confusion. That's just confusion.
No, that's the U.S. Justice Department.
Right.
That's the Justice Department.
Right, and you know how they're so hawkish on matters of the such.
Right. The Muslim American Society
Mm-hmm.
gave Ellison $13,350 in 2008.
They weren't serious. That's just chump change.
Well,
That's a Muslim Brotherhood organization, though.
Listen, how high was his bail?
They're not a terrorist.
How high was his
Tribune
bail?
wrote an article in 2004 that said in recent years the U.S. Brotherhood operated under the name Muslim American Society, according to documents and interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. I'm sure there's nothing to see here.
Well, listen.
He called for Dick Cheney's impeachment.
Yeah, he did. CARE, like you said, raised large amounts of money for him.
Yes.
CARE is also a known...
But listen to their name. How bad can they be? Their name is CARE.
I know.
Were they not a
Right?
co-conspirator? Were they not a co-conspiracy? Granted, they were not indicted. They were not indicted. I want to make that clear. They were not indicted. But weren't they a possible, or they thought there was thought or evidence that they were a co-conspirator in a Hamas funding case?
Well, but listen, it's only you're
Named
going
by
to
the Justice Department?
But since 2008, there are certain people that any DOJ person over there can tell you the people that they're told they're not going to touch. CARE is one of those organizations.
And CARE has repeatedly refused to denounce Hezbollah or Hamas.
Well, they can't prove they don't exist.
Right.
I mean, it's all semantics at this point.
The
Clint.
reason this is important, and if you want a really good article about this, you can go to Jihad Watch. There's an article.
That is a great site. That's an excellent
site. There's an article that was written November 14th, 2016, so a long time ago, by Robert Spencer.
Robert Spencer
And the name of the I enjoy reading his stuff, but the name of the article is Muslim Brotherhood-linked Congressman Keith Ellison announces run for DNC chair. So where I got a lot of this information that we're talking about right now is in that article. Fabulous article if you have a chance to go there. But the reason this is important is because this man is very, very likely going to be your next chairman of the DNC.
Well, and
this is a problem. Look, Pelosi's embattled, and we can talk about the issues the Democrats are having. Right? There's no clear leader. There's no heir apparent in the Democratic Party. The Democrats got their asses whipped by a bunch of nerds, to quote John Goodman. Right? You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of nerds. And that's what just happened. And the Democratic Party, instead of realizing that the reason Trump won that election is because the working class and the lower class, the underprivileged white voting bloc in this country,
and a lot of the black voting bloc too, because he got a lot more.
34% of the Latino vote went to Donald Trump. And the Democratic Party needs to realize that they no longer have that connection with that group. That group no longer feels that the Democratic Party is a party of the people. And what is the reaction? The reaction is not, we need to take a step back and re-engage.
The reaction
with that
is doubling
Their
down.
reaction is doubling down.
Bingo.
Yep. Their reaction is doubling down and talking seriously about putting Keith Ellison as the DNC chair. What is that going to do to the party platform?
But look at Alinsky. Right?
Why is this? No, I get it. We've talked about this, but why is this man even allowed to hold a seat in Congress given these ties?
But first of all, though, you're acting like it's insane. You now have Barbara Boxer coming out and trying to enter into for a vote to destroy the Electoral College. They don't care about the system.
That would need to be a constitutional amendment.
Right. But what I'm saying is the left is so blind.
Look,
they're so blind to reality that they will put this guy in. They will double down on it.
Yes.
And that's, you know what, at this point, great.
That's not great. Why is it okay that somebody who supports and has ties with enemies of our country,
because
enemies of our allies,
fear, people are afraid to state the obvious
This individual,
when you have
could
anything
potentially
other
be
than
in
a Caucasoid male involved.
This individual should have. This guy should not be allowed to hold office. He should be precluding from holding office because, given those ties, he clearly cannot meet his oath of office to faithfully defend and execute the laws of the United States or the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The Muslim Brotherhood is an enemy of the Constitution of the United States.
Well, and here's Carrie Donovan in the chat room brought up a really good point. Part of the problem with Ellis is that when if Trump declares the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization, the left will scream that it is only at that point to punish the DNC chairman. It has nothing to do with their activities, and the media will follow suit on that. And I think that's a great look into the future.
But it is. But here's the thing about that. The Muslim Brotherhood, there is so much evidence that Trump would be able to point to where that segment of voters that left the Democratic Party and went to Trump would identify with. I could make that case all day long. And I'm not nearly as smart as Donald Trump.
Well, here's an article in Politico from 2 days ago. It says Soros bands with donors to resist Trump take back power. Major liberal funders huddle behind closed doors with Pelosi, Warren, Ellison, and union bosses to lick wounds and retrench. George Soros and other rich liberals who spent tens of millions of dollars trying to elect Hillary Clinton are gathering in Washington for a 3-day closed-door meeting to retool the big money left to fight back against Donald Trump. They are doubling down.
They are. And this man, like you said, he has ties to Louis Farrakhan.
Yes. Calypso Louis, as Danny Butcher likes to call him.
He compared George Bush to Hitler.
Well, and here's the other thing, too, that's really scary about the left and how blind they just are to reality. You have President-elect Donald Trump, who a lot of people in this country had serious disagreements with. And as many people voted for him for what they thought would be good for the country, how many people voted for him because it wasn't the left? And that his options, even though they may not agree with him on a lot of things, were better than them, and they've been getting slapped in the face. So the Dems have to realize that there is a percentage of people that not Donald Trump's actions got them to vote for Donald Trump, but Hillary Clinton and the left's actions forced them to go to Donald Trump. So they're literally chasing the GOP.
And here's the thing. Donald Trump has and we said this on election night, Donald Trump has the ability to really, really solidify his place. He has the potential to be a great president.
We completely concurred, all three of us.
Absolutely.
Election night, if.
Yes.
Good question from Joe, and I don't know the answer. Was the Muslim Brotherhood classified an enemy of the state prior to the Obama administration? Because they do remove a lot of...
they do, and I'm going to say I don't know.
I don't either.
Because I don't know if the Muslim Brotherhood really sprung up as a result of the Arab Spring.
Right. Yeah, but it's been in place for years, but its popularity came out.
Right. So, look, here's what I really find trouble about Ellison. Here, a quote from his DNC speech in Philadelphia. Quote, "Bernie sparked the beginning of a revolution, y'all. Together we call for climate justice, racial justice, and wage justice. Bernie sparked the beginning of a revolution, y'all. The beginning of a revolution. When the left talks about revolution...
That's bad.
They're not talking about revolution in an ideological sense.
No.
They are talking about revolution in a very physical, a very real sense. And if you need evidence of this, take a look at the protests that are happening.
Yep.
Take a look at how they have conducted themselves. And I'll tell you, there was a couple stark contrasts that I saw in downtown Sacramento after the election, the day following the election. There was one group that came downtown Sacramento. They were from a very left-wing organization. There was about 50 of them or so, and they conducted themselves in a very professional way. They were somber. They talked about their disagreement. They talked about their disappointment with how the election went. They stated their case, and they went along their business. And believe it or not, I believe that group was from, I talked to one of them. I believe they were from MoveOn.org.
Mhm.
Okay, a very left-wing organization, but they conducted themselves. On that same night, there was a protest in downtown Sacramento at the federal building, and the protesters there took over the streets.
Yep.
They went on a march through downtown, and I'm watching this. I'm watching this happen, and they went on this march. They were causing a lot of they didn't have a permit. They weren't violent, but I'm surprised they didn't go up on the freeway and try and cause havoc up there, which they ended up doing.
I was going to say,
a couple days later.
Didn't they attempt to shut down 80 there?
Yeah, they did. I read a news article where they were attempting to shut down a major freeway.
Yep.
And so, look, and you look at the riots and the law enforcement vehicles and everything, the looting, not the loot, but the vandalism and so forth. When they talk about revolution, they mean it in the very real, the very physical sense of the word. And this is why I have serious reservations about this Ellison individual.
Mm-hmm.
Barack Obama told us very clearly before he was elected on his first term, we are a couple days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. He meant that.
And he did.
And he did. Hopefully some of it can be undone. Ellison is talking about a revolution that was started. And given his ties, I believe him. And nobody is paying attention to this. Sean talked earlier about the purge and how there is a movement that believes that should happen. That's the revolution. Do you guys remember the Levi's commercial where they talked about being the uniform of the revolution? And it was people dressed in Levi's and black clothing and waving the flag, and it was that protester. If you haven't, check it out. I highly recommend.
No, I haven't seen that one.
I highly recommend you search it. But that's what's scary.
Well,
and what do you have to do to accomplish that?
Here's a great bellwether. Bill Maher is a great bellwether because low information leftists go to him for news, for God's sake.
Yeah, I know.
And he's saying that, and he said, I have a copy of the video here, following the election, that leftist Democrats need to, quote, stop being so nice. Bill Maher said that what they were doing were bringing knives to a gunfight, so they need to be nicer. So apparently he hasn't been listening or monitoring the GOP or the Republicans in general, which is why they got Donald Trump in the first place. Because what the GOP brought was compromise and bipartisanship. Well, on whose part was always demanded the compromise and the bipartisanship? On the part of the GOP.
Right.
It was never the Democrats who had to compromise or be involved in bipartisanship. So what conservatives and everybody else need to do is listen up. Listen to what these people are saying. Pay attention to what they're doing. The Democrats have to stop being so nice. That's called a clue.
Right.
When we thought that Democrats were being oppressive, they thought they were being nice.
Yep. And double down, double down, double down.
And so that's exactly what they did. They just doubled down. And they're not ashamed of saying it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have just stepped through a massive door where I'm simply suggesting this is the new normal. If you think things are going to get less polarized, I don't believe so.
It's going to get worse.
On the other hand, here's my feeling. The more you push at me, the more I'm going to push back. And that leads to a conclusion that I have, which is this is, in fact, going to foment unrest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what form it's going to take, I don't know. JFK, back in 1961, had a very prescient saying that I throw on my blog quite frequently, and it's this: those who make peaceful evolution impossible make violent revolution possible. And with Ellison, with the meeting, with George Soros and Pelosi and the DNC, you know exactly what they're doing. They've not gotten the message. They lost everything. Well, that's another story. We'll have the White House and Congress, the House and the Senate, but what will we actually do with it? Because Republicans are too timid to actually wield power when they have it. That's a story for another day.
We're too polite.
But we have the power now, and they don't get it.
Well, and
that does not bode well for common sense.
But here's the analysis. I kind of look at it this way. They know, in a way, that they may never have power again if they keep going the way they're going. Legal power, appropriate power, elected power, electoral college, etc. So what do? You burn the system down and take the power. And you do that through these series of riots, these series of... You keep going, like you said, is going to happen. You keep fanning those flames of hate, and you whip everybody into a frenzy and move on. Before we go to break, just follow up on a couple comments we made earlier the evening. We, per the Exceptional Conservative, America has never called the Muslim Brotherhood or put them on the terrorist list. However, Canada and the United Arab Emirates do have them on their terrorist watch list. So
and
Canada
they started
and
in
the UAE.
They started in 1928 in Egypt.
The Muslim Brotherhood, 1928. Yes. Also, a great comment from Agador in the chat room at shrmedia.com. Talking about the left and compromise. The left never compromises.
Nope.
End of list, end of story.
No. It's like I said, bipartisanship and compromise always has to occur
on the side
of conservatives.
We're always
over Republicans.
expected to give up more.
Yes.
But and even financially, right? Most of us are taxpayers on this side, and they always want more.
Well, see, that's what's extremely disappointing. I know you got to cut to the chase here in just a bit. But
2 minutes.
Here's the thing that so few people have brought up. You may want more, but who the hell is going to pay for it? I didn't hear Trump or anyone else basically say our current spending is insane and completely unsustainable.
What was it? Margaret Thatcher who said socialism is great, but what happens when you run out of other people's money?
Yeah, if you want to see a riot, you stop people's welfare checks.
Look at Venezuela. Look at Venezuela. Follow Venezuela. And you look at Venezuela, and that could very well be us. The way the left makes promises that don't come true. The way everybody was winning. A chicken in every pot. Right? Everybody, we have the oil, we have the money, we're going to do everything we can. Venezuela is 10 years ahead of us if we stay on this path. Maybe less. I'm being nice. Now, you mix that with the refugee problem and what's going on in Europe. 5 years of us. 10. Those two, we're going to get a perfect storm of things that will start to twist up.
It's coming.
And it's very, very frightening. We are up against the last break of the evening. When we come back, we have more crap to talk about here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Stick around.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying Kaufman was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And because every once in a while we want
like
them to
that
feel
music.
I do like that music.
I like it.
I think it's nice and new. It's
Yes.
different. It's fresh. But every once in a while, because we want him to feel good and he's part of the team and everything, BZ wants to bring up a topic, and we figured,
Why the hell not?
He's been pretty good, right?
Right.
He's been okay.
He's been all right.
He's minded his manners all night.
Not that good, mind you. But he's been all right. He's been okay. Let's harken back to last Tuesday. And, ladies and gentlemen, you remember when John Podesta came out, and it looked like Hillary's campaign was going down the tubes rather rapidly. And all night, perhaps some of you were wondering, well, I wonder what happened to Hillary Clinton. And then why did John Podesta come out and make this lame-brain statement about, well, you can all go home now, and we'll contact and we'll speak again tomorrow.
The most bizarre.
That was
ever.
that not one of the strangest
No, actually, it fit perfectly.
speeches?
It did.
It shouldn't have.
But it
Jesus.
did. I was not surprised at all.
Well, it's leading to my point. Because the Clintons imploded, and I have some information about why it is that we just did not see Hillary on election night. From the UK Daily Mail, which is where I get a lot of my news these days, since you can't trust the American media maggots. Days before losing the election, Hillary and Bill had a screaming match over who to blame for her flagging campaign. The ex-president was so angry he threw his phone off the roof of their Arkansas penthouse. Bill and Hillary had a vicious fight over the phone over who to blame for her sagging poll numbers, a source close to the ex-president says.
Wait, Bill and Hillary had a fight?
Oh, did they ever. Hillary blamed FBI Director Comey for reopening the investigation and based on Anthony Weiner's shared computer with Huma Abedin.
Weiner.
Bill faulted Robbie Mook, John Podesta, and Hillary herself. He claimed the three were tone deaf, Clint, about exactly what you were saying, about the feeble economy and the impact on millions and millions of working class people. And a big part of Bill's anger towards Hillary was the fact that he was sidelined during the entire campaign by her advisors. Bill didn't buy the excuse that Comey would cost Hillary the election, said the source. As far as he was concerned, all the blame belonged to campaign manager Robbie Mook, campaign chairman John Podesta, and Hillary herself, because they displayed a tone-deaf attitude about the feeble economy and the impact on millions and millions of working-class people. Do you remember that particular person named Peggy Joseph who said Obama was going to pay her bills and pay off her mortgage?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, guess what didn't get paid off?
And look, Bill Clinton, say what you want about the man. He did a decent job as president.
He
other
knew
than lying and blowjobs. He was able to work with Newt Gingrich.
He was politically savvy.
Politically, he was savvy. And the man won 2 elections.
Yep.
Was a pretty successful president. Look, do I agree with everything Bill? Of course I don't agree with everything Bill Clinton did. Was he a pretty successful president who got things done with a Republican Congress and with Newt Gingrich? Absolutely he was.
Yes, because he had charisma. I can remember people in D.C. who saw him that said that when he walked into a room, the entire room, he sucked up all the air in the room, and people noticed, and you paid attention to him. He had that thing, whatever that thing is.
Wait,
he had it.
What got sucked up?
His panties dropped.
Right.
But here,
He panty dropped the room?
Yeah, that's basically what happened. But he knows how to win elections. He knows politically what to do. He's politically savvy, like you said.
Yes, he is.
He knows how to come together and not be divisive. He does. And his wife didn't listen to him, or somebody didn't listen to him and give him an active role. Because if he would have been the campaign manager, if Bill Clinton would have run that campaign, the Clintons could have won.
You must have been looking over my head, because that's the next paragraph.
No, I'm not. Look, he would if Hillary Clinton would have acknowledged the economy, if she would have acknowledged if she would have acknowledged where Obama's failings had been, if she would have acknowledged the things that Donald Trump acknowledged, and had an alternative and heard the American people instead of bowing to the left because of how good Bernie Sanders did. Bernie Sanders didn't do that well because of his far left positions. He did that well because he was something different. Well, then Hillary Clinton would be the president-elect right now.
Mm-hmm. You nailed it, because the very next paragraph on this said, Hillary wouldn't listen. She told Bill that his ideas were old and then he was out of touch. In the end, there was nothing he could do about it, because Hillary and her people weren't listening to anything he said.
Yeah, her vagina's old and is not touched. But maybe it is.
And so what was she doing that night? What happened? Why didn't she come out? Video confirms Hillary Clinton drunkenly attacks Podesta and Mook on election night.
Really?
Wait
a second, is this true or is this real?
Yes.
No, this is true.
I've heard this from numerous places.
It gets better. This person writes, my friend is a trustworthy reporter, and I put in their oxymoron, who often sees anti-Clinton stories spiked. Not everybody at CNN is bad. The leadership is, though. This is a respected neutral who is being silenced. A good friend of mine, sick of CNN suppressing inconvenient stories that hurt the left. Listen to this, because you were talking at the beginning of the show, Sean, about this being the new media. Guess what? This is the new media, and this is how it goes. The first honest MSM reporters, the few honest MSM reporters, have been reduced to leaking info to new media people because their corporate bosses won't let them report it. So, a friend at CNN says Hillary was in a, quote, psychotic drunken rage election night, needed hardcore meds to speak Wednesday. CNN reporter tells me Hillary became physically violent towards Robbie Mook and John Podesta around midnight, had to be briefly restrained. Hillary on election night was straight up Hitler in the bunker shite. It even included psychotic screaming about the Russians. It gets better. It gets better. The doctor helped restrain Hillary when she violently attacked Mook and Podesta at midnight. Gave sedatives, then amphetamines the next morning. CNN reporter says Hillary needed so many amphetamines Wednesday morning, she had unexpected nosebleeds all day. The fear was she'd bleed at any sort of a concession speech. That's why you didn't see Hillary Clinton.
So let me ask you this. There was a fight with Bill Clinton over the phone?
Yes.
And so
he was in Arkansas.
After she realized he was right, that's when she tried to beat the shit out of Podesta?
No, that was on a different day.
That was totally
election night.
Oh.
So the argument with Bill was before.
Yeah, 3 days before the election.
So then on election night, so Bill Clinton knew she was going to lose.
Yes, I believe so.
And 3 days, and so Hillary thought she had it in the bag. Bill knew she was going to lose, and then when she realized Bill was right, she tried to MMA some folks.
She tried to go full MMA.
Sources have told the American Spectator that on.
Wait, hang on a second. I'm sorry. At what time did this happen? Was this after Ohio went down, or after Florida went down?
This indicates just after midnight.
So what time was that?
So that had to be Eastern. That's 9 o'clock our time.
Right. So what time did Florida go?
Now that I don't know.
Florida went about 10:30 our time.
So she whooped somebody's ass after Ohio.
Yeah.
Because North Carolina took a while.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
and they also knew at that point that North Carolina and Pennsylvania were gone. She knew it at that point.
Pennsylvania didn't go for
She
late,
knew it, though.
late.
Just because the press didn't put it out, she knew it.
Wisconsin. You know what? That might have been when Wisconsin and Ohio went.
I love how we're trying to find the smoking gun.
I
the
do. I
smoking
wanna
gun
know
is
what-
that she's
I wanna know
batshit
what
crazy.
tipped her off. Yeah, but I want
She
to know what
is.
set
She
her off,
absolutely
right?
is.
Because people that are batshit crazy, it takes a stimulus.
Not always.
It takes a, so she didn't like win California and all of a sudden go sideways.
No, but I think
one of those states sent her over the edge.
I
and I want to know which one so I can send the governor a thank you note.
It had to be Ohio.
It's Ohio or Wisconsin, right?
All right, it had to be Ohio. Wisconsin could have been it only because they were expected to win. Ohio was iffy going into it, right? We all knew that. Wisconsin, she was expected to take. And maybe when she realized that everything else was going down and you lose Wisconsin, that could have been the moment that she snapped like a freaking twig.
Well, it does begin to intimate just a bit of a time pattern here. There's a paragraph that says, sources have told the American Spectator that on Tuesday night, after Hillary realized that she'd lost, she went into a rage. R. Emmett Terrell reported, Secret Service officers told at least one source that she began yelling, screaming obscenities, and pounding furniture. She picked up objects and threw them at attendants and staff.
That is not the first report of her throwing things that we've heard.
No, that's happened before with
rage.
Bill. She was in an uncontrollable rage. Tyrell's reporting indicates that Mrs. Clinton's mental state made it impossible for her to address her supporters on election night, as custom generally dictates. Her aides could not allow her to come out in public, he writes. It would take her hours to calm down. So, here we go. Podesta went out and gave his aimless speech. I wish we could report on Bill's whereabouts, but we cannot. People, you are going to love this. This is a great quote. I think Dave mentioned this in chat. People say they're amazed Bill's marriage survived, Terrell noted to Breitbart. I'm amazed Bill survived his marriage.
Well, listen, we know this isn't the first time she's lost her shit, right? You go back to when he was governor. The state police responded to the governor's mansion for fights. Again, SNL, Phil Hartman played Clinton.
Yeah.
But it was there for a reason. There was several reports that the Arkansas State Police had to respond for a fight and break up a fight between them. You know the Secret Service book that came out, how many times she'd call him that asshole or whatever the hell she'd call him, throwing books at people. this isn't a shock.
The Ron Kessler book about the Clinton White House was a wonderful, great book. Folks, if you haven't read it, you should. But here's what happened. It pissed her off to no end because she got her ass handed to her by a black neophyte in 2008.
Yep.
She knew she had absolutely no chance against incumbent Obama in 2012. So 2016 was supposed to have been her year because she was due to be president. It was owed to her. Think of this.
It's the summer of George.
Oh yeah, think of the vast amounts of gin and crank that had to be knocked down when she realized that she supported Bill Clinton's philandering sexual escapades and rape allegations for years and years.
For this
only to have that ultimate prize, kicked and knocked away from her little arthritic clutching fingers by the unwashed commoners, the proles, the groundlings, the serfs, us. How terrible that must have been. Amazing. So, there we go. Now we know where the fuel came from, and the fire, and the rage.
Oh, I love it. You know what's sad is I should be, upset about this, but I'm not.
I find it funny as hell.
Yeah, me too.
Because isn't this what everyone was saying in the background?
Yes.
The intimation on the U.S. Secret Service was that no one wants to be on a detail.
Yes.
Can you imagine those poor bastards who would have had to be on a personnel detail for 4 years?
Oh, God. No, you know what? It would have been such a run at the Secret Service of new hires because people wouldn't have stayed. I go back to, what's his name? He ran for Congress a few times. He's a radio host now, and he was a Secret Service former New York cop.
Oh, Bongino? Dan Bongino.
Yeah, Dan Bongino. There's a reason he got out. He's not, not dumb. So it's...
But I say really, truly, let's think about this for a second. Let's open up for just a moment. This really couldn't have happened to a nicer, more caring, self-effacing, and humble couple. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yes.
But watch for Chelsea's rise. There's already talk about
her
there
is
for Congress.
Yes, there is talk about that.
So you watch.
I wonder where she'll get her money.
Yeah. You watch about Chelsea Clinton.
Oh yeah.
By the way, speaking of
will she be 35 by next?
She's already 35.
She's already 35. She's 39. She's my age.
Yeah, she's eligible. We're gonna let the indictments and the prosecutions commence. And the nice thing that I don't even remember the show. I was watching Jason Chaffetz yesterday. He might have even been on O'Reilly. I don't remember. Oh, by the way, folks, if you need to do it, go see Tucker Carlson. He took Brit Hume's spot. Tucker Carlson had a little tete-a-tete with Geraldo Rivera yesterday.
Oh, good.
That was great. It was absolutely grand. But Jason Chaffetz basically says, no, we're not dropping the investigation. We still haven't found the truth. So that's not going away. Good for you, Jason.
Good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good.
What do you guys think about Reince Priebus?
Yeah, so...
being chief of staff.
I said...
First of all, how did that relationship form to be that good?
Well,
because I remember... Oh, and by the way, for the record, I hate to do this. I hate to do this.
But you're going to.
But I'm going to.
He's not going to.
Michael Moore called the Trump victory.
Yeah?
I think you're right.
No, he did.
No, he did.
He did.
I hate to give Michael Moore credit because I think we are still in ideological war.
And we always will be.
But it's kind of like a North Korea, South Korea ideological war where we're not really firing any shots right now.
But we're close.
So anyways, I think he nailed that. But Reince Priebus, first of all, I think it's a brilliant pick, given the fact that he needs to work with Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell. Brilliant pick.
I said brilliant or idiotic, and
I think it's
no. I said my two options when I put it out on social media is brilliant or idiotic. Okay. I say brilliant, and I agree with you. It's who he has to work with, and because he is a traditional GOPer, he was the head of the party. It brings a lot of people home.
Yep.
But he can also do this. He also has Reince Priebus under his thumb.
Yes, he does.
and that means he has the ability to reach out to the people in the party who are afraid of Trump because of what he's going to say and do.
And Rance Priebus can get those other people on board because his allegiance is to Trump.
Yes.
The Republican Party was crumbling. It was fractured until Donald J. Trump. It was. Republicans came home to vote for Donald Trump. Rance Priebus owes the survival of the Republican Party to Donald J. Trump.
And got on board relatively early and stayed on board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it was a brilliant pick. Now, I'm not so sure about this Breitbart guy.
Bannon?
Yeah. I don't
know
that was a good pick.
Don't know much about him.
Well, and here's the thing about him. I don't know. First of all, he's a strategist position, right? He's kind of like the Valerie Jarrett, if you will. It's not... but he's also... He worked at Breitbart. He doesn't seem to be a horrible guy. He's been with Trump for a long time, kind of in that position already. And Joe brought up a really good point, too. This now removes Reince from the head of the RNC and gets a new person in, which is a very, very good thing.
Yeah. Maybe Ellison.
I think Bannon overall is a pretty good guy. The left despises him. As soon as the left hates somebody that much, it automatically thinks that something good is going.
Yeah,
they're accusing him of being an anti-Semite to the point that all of the Jewish reporters at Breitbart and people who don't work at Breitbart have come out and said, "You're not even in the ballpark with this guy. He is a big supporter of Israel." He's a big supporter of Israel.
He loves German culture.
He has no issues with Jewish people. It's being propagated by the left.
No, it's a bunch of crap.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't even look at...
But here's why
it's not a cabinet position. It's an advisory position. That's on him.
Here's why I don't say I don't know about it. I say I don't know about it not because I think this guy has done anything wrong or that I think this guy's an anti-Semite. I don't know. I think he could have made a better selection because of the press and the play that it's going to get and how it's going to get spun. And look, I have to say this too. I know we only have 6.5 minutes left. I think Donald Trump's acceptance speech was measured. It was very effective. I think it was very, very presidential. I think Hillary Clinton's public speech was also very impressive.
Well, she'd sobered up by that time.
It was very regardless. It was eloquent. It was well done. I think Obama's speech was well done. It was very classy. I actually watched the little when they sat together after their hour-and-a-half meeting, and Donald Trump said basically, "Hey, listen, we had a very nice conversation. We disagree on some things. We agree on some things, and I am going to be talking to President Obama several times during my presidency." Good. And I don't say good because I want him to have those philosophies. I say good for this reason. Whether I agree or disagree with Obama, and I disagree with him on most things, but he's still a president of the United States. There is still certain knowledge that he has that Trump can glean, whether it's maneuvering through the press corps, whether it's dealing with a certain foreign leader, whether it's name the issue.
Yeah, Obama's already told
But here's the other
don't
thing it
acknowledge
does.
reporters that shout at you.
But here's the other thing it does.
And so
gets the left media off his back a little bit because now he's saying, no.
I wasn't done. But,
Okay.
But here, what I was going to say, and I understand that perspective, but one thing I was concerned with is because George W. Bush worked with Obama. Bush Sr. worked with Obama. Clinton worked with Obama. There is a history of our country of past presidents, regardless of party, giving insight and assistance to the sitting president. And I was concerned that Obama was not going to do that because of the divisiveness of not only this campaign, but the big divide that's in our country right now. So when he came out and said that, and when Trump acknowledged that, I was pleased.
Well, it
to
shows
hear
that there is unity and that the transfer of power has to be peaceful. And also,
Right.
Joe Biden came out today. I think it was today. Somebody said, "Hey, do you think this administration is going to be ready to go on day one?" And Biden said, "No administration's ready to go on day one. It's just
Yeah.
not how it works. There's so
Right.
much work that has to go into it."
Did Biden meet Pence? And
Biden met Pence and had lunch today.
and I tweeted a photo about that.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, you didn't see it?
No. Did
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Probably didn't mark me in it. That's why.
No, I just tweet. I don't know how to mark people.
I missed it too.
Yeah,
Don't feel bad, Sean. I missed it.
But it was a photograph from their meeting that I thought was pretty interesting.
It's like teaching my dog how to tweet. It's absolutely ridiculous at this point.
I don't know how to do this.
I
What
mean,
is this?
seriously,
You know, half
dude.
the time I don't know if this.
We
thing's
had
on.
monkeys navigate to space, but I can't get this
They
guy.
didn't navigate. They were shot up in the rocket. You shoot me up in a Twitter rocket, I'd be able to tweet just fine.
I can't get this guy.
What
to-
is this Twitter thing? I don't even know.
I'm 78,000 years old. I can do it.
So it's along the Clint's tweet at Sackhead Clint is along the list of outstanding memes that have been coming out about Joe Biden this past week. It's a picture of Joe Biden with his hand on Mike Pence's shoulder, and Biden says, "So you're the new guy?" Pence says, "Yep, I'm Mike." Biden says, "Well, Mike, don't ever touch my fucking drum set." There's another great one about him talking to Obama, talking about breaking in February and taking out all of Trump's shoes and putting Legos on the floor. That's almost that. There's a picture of them holding hands with Obama where he said, hey, Barack, hold my hand. And Obama says, "Joe, not now." He goes, no, really, you have to do it now. I want to freak out Pence. Like, there's just so many great Biden memes going around right now. They're brilliant.
I'm gonna miss him.
I already said, what am I going to do without Biden?
I'm gonna miss him.
I hope they keep him around in the White House.
He was entertaining.
You know, what, anyways, it sounds like Trump is going to put together a team of rivals, like we kind of talked about. It sounds like he's going to have some folks in there.
Yeah, we have 3 minutes, and
I'm actually excited about that.
Yeah.
I hope there is.
Well, apparently Ben Carson already turned him down. I'm not quite. I think he was. Was looking. Yeah, he was looking for Carson for not Surgeon General,
H&S Secretary,
Health and Human Services,
Why would Carson turn him down?
and Commerce. I think. He said the official word from him was he didn't feel that he was qualified.
Here's the thing with Health and Human Services, and I was listening to Newt Gingrich talk about this, and I actually thought it's such a bureaucracy right now.
Yeah.
That honestly, maybe it wasn't Newt, it was somebody else talking about it. It's such a bureaucracy that's so inundated with so many people that somebody like Ben Carson, it would take them a long time to get in and weed.
Where's Newt going to go?
I think you're going to see Newt.
Is he going to be behind the scenes guy?
No,
I don't know.
I think you're going to see Newt there somewhere.
I think so too, but where? Is he going to be behind the scenes like a Dick Morris? Or is he... By the way, is it funny that Bill Clinton hired somebody named Dick Moore?
No.
Anyways, or is he going to be... Or is he going to be really kind of out there on the front of the thing?
I think he's going to...
I think Flynn's going to be SecDef.
Yeah, I think Flynn's going to be SecDef. I think Giuliani's going to be Sec State.
You think Giuliani's going to be Sec State?
Yes.
Really? You don't think he's going to be AG?
No, I've actually heard...
Who do you think?
I heard that
Ted Cruz's name for AG.
What?
I heard that Giuliani was not looking for AG.
No, he wanted Secretary of State. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Ted Cruz for AG?
I've heard that as well.
So,
did Ted Cruz...
we got to go. We'll talk about it next
Ted
week.
Cruz endorse him?
I don't know.
Very, very end? Like,
I don't know.
Like after he won over...
Well, he was making the phone calls for him, so who knows. Folks, that's it for the Sackheads Radio Show. This is the 16th of November, 2016.
Great
Thank you
show.
so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody who's in the chat.
Thanks for listening.
For
Thanks
hanging
for
out with
chatting.
us.
By the way, China banned, you can't call Little Kim Big Fatty.
Hello. We will see you next Wednesday right here on the SHR Media Network. Make sure you check out Reverb Common Sense starting tomorrow morning. Jersey Joe. 11 a.m. on the East Coast right here on the SHR Media Group. Also, make sure you stick around through SHR through the day. Thank you again to all the SHR contributors. You guys are awesome. Thank you for making this an awesome week.
Fatty.
Like us on Facebook. Like us on Twitter. Like them and listen to their shows. We will talk to you soon.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work there too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads.
Radio.
Sackheads.
Radio.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.